over the last couple of years, Tyrese Haliburton has somehow went from maybe the most underrated player in the league to suddenly the most hated overnight.
He's had his highs. He's had his lows. Let's talk about how good he really is.
Spoiler alert, I think he's pretty good. Jack, describe Tyrese Haliburton in one word.
We could go polarizing. We could do polarizing, I think.
That's fair.
Yeah, just because, I don't know. He's definitely not like the most polarizing guy in the league or anything, but there are just such extremes to the way he plays basketball and such like a uniqueness that there's not really anybody else in the league that like one-to-one directly compares to him. And so I feel like a lot of people either bought in immediately last year at the beginning when hey, that's literally Steve Nash, and then a lot of people are like, oh, he's not aggressive enough as a scorer, he's just as bad as the other guys who get the label of like worst in the league level defenders. There are a lot of problems with him, and so I feel like we end up with these two very vocal camps of guys who are like, hey, Haliburton is literally all NBA first team this year, or Haliburton's not even better than Trae Young. Why are we having these conversations?
It's either Haliburton is literally Trae Jones or he's literally Steve Nash in between. So yeah, very interesting player because some of the other more polarizing players in the NBA are usually either clearly not good and don't deserve the hype, or are some of the best players in the world that, you know, the hate comes with the territory. You got
they're
Joel
usually
Embiid, you got Tatum, like
too. I feel like they're usually assholes. The guys who are like get big arguments about them, and Haliburton, he just like sits back and he just plays a weird way that like upsets people. It's also the way he shoots the ball. There's like there's a full camp of people that I'm sure purely dislike Haliburton just because his jump shot looks like that. Yeah.
So he's interesting because he's not one of the best players in the world. He's also not a bust. He's not someone to be hated either. He is just a B+, A- all-star level player that gets hated on for all these different reasons. And I think right now, he is back to being underrated after getting a ton of hate because he got overhyped for a stretch of games that was clearly, you know, an outlier. He got tons of hate because of it. And now he's back to the point where he's once again one of the most underappreciated players in the NBA and just straight up extremely good, fantastic engine of a top offense. Somebody that I think we need to spend a whole episode talking about because he has such an interesting game with just specific strengths and weaknesses you don't see often that make him hard for the average fan to digest because people kind of paint stars into boxes and archetypes and like, you can be the one option, you can't be the one option. You can be a star point guard, you can't be, like, it's all so vanilla to people. And he's just like firmly, it's just a mix of all these things that are just hard to parse.
Yeah. And hey, you know, you say clearly an outlier, the stretch of games where a lot of people fell in love with him. I say, you know, you look at the last 45, 50 games so far this season, it's not that far off from that couple months stretch at the beginning of last year where people fell in love to him. And I feel like, there was a moment post back injury over the course of like the second half of last season and into the beginning of this year where the haters were up. Like he was not playing his best basketball. And I'm glad he's back to at least like this level, whether or not you want to say that's the level he was at prior to the back injury, just because I felt so insane with all of that. I was like, was that just like a 3-month insanity run? Are we never going to get that again? And the fact that we're back,
we'll talk about that. In some ways, I think we're not, but we'll get into it. But yeah, TLDR, this video is about why we think Tyrese Haliburton is still extremely good. We think he's fantastic. We think he gets too much hate. And we'll get to all the reasons why he's been good. But long story short, we're making this video because he's coming off of a fantastic March in which he's playing himself back in conversations that you have to respect. Albeit, March basketball is fake. Not when we want it to be real. And for him, it's real. Through 10 games in March, he has 112 assists to just 10 turnovers. So take a second there. 112 assists to 10 turnovers. That's utterly ridiculous. That's utterly ridiculous. He is one of the best protectors of the ball, one of the best playmakers we have in this league in a very unique way that gives him so much value that we'll talk about the scoring variance we've seen over the years. We'll talk about the playoff equity, how you feel about him being your quote unquote best player, number one option, whatever. We'll get into all of that. but he is clearly showing he is still one of the most gifted playmakers of the modern NBA. That alone gives him so much value, and we need to praise that so much that everything else is almost secondary.
Yeah. And I will say, there's been a ton of discourse around turnovers over the past, like, I don't know, really the entire time I've been an NBA fan, where like we went all the way around from like turnovers are the most important thing. Russell Westbrook, 4 turnovers a game. How could this guy even be good, much less all NBA? Then all the way back around to where I'm at the point for a lot of high usage players, I'm not that worried about turnovers. Cade Cunningham, I'm not that worried about turnovers. If Jokic has like 6 in a game or something, I'm not that worried about it just because they're responsible for so much. But Haliburton maintaining this assist to turnover ratio and being this level of protector, like you said, just taking care of the ball so much while applying this much pressure on defenses with his passing. I think that's what really sticks out, because it's one thing to not turn the ball over when you're averaging 5 assists, making like swing passes to all-stars.
Yeah, this isn't Tyus Jones. This is not Tyus Jones.
Yeah, it's a different thing to be this level of like assist to turnover ratio guy when you're, 2 feet in the paint making the craziest decision possible 30 times a game. Like it's really impressive what he's doing.
Yeah. But again, so we'll get to all the playmaking. We had to start up top and we got to talk about the bad that comes with him first before we can get to the good and really understand the full scope of him. So like we said, early last year, he had his, people call it the insanity run, right? He started the year of last season averaging like 27 points per game, shooting 43% from the 3. People were saying, oh my God, this is a top 4-point guard in the league. He's made this insane leap. Before that stretch, he was viewed as like very underrated, 20-10 guy, very good. Free him from the shackles of playing next to De'Aaron Fox. They don't fit together. He should run a team. All the nerd momentum was on his side. Then he had this crazy stretch in which everybody crowned him. And it happened so fast, so suddenly, that there was a little bit of a negative reaction to that, right? Where people were like, oh, why y'all crowning this guy? We didn't think about him this way a month ago. Now you're acting like he's better than John Morant, better than Trae Young, yada, yada. He built up some hate towards him.
Yeah.
Then he got hurt. And he fell back to reality. And the haters had a victory lap second half of last year. But I was like, okay, listen, give him time. We believe he's really good. He'll get back to that, right? This season starts, and my God, he looked even worse. The first 20 games of the season, 17.5 points, 8.7 assists on 55% true shooting, which is about 2% worse than league average. He shot 41% from the field and just 34% from 3 on 9 attempts. Indiana was the 16th ranked offense in the league and had a record of 9-11. The haters didn't just win. They were stomping on his motherfucking grave. It looked like it was over. Even the most optimistic of fan like me, I was worried. I was like, oh my God, did I hype the wrong guy? I'm scared he'll never get back to that. What is going on? Why do you think he was so bad to start this year? What was the reason behind this ridiculously terrible start for his standards?
I don't know. I part of it is probably just lingering injury stuff. Like his burst really looked pretty bad in the first portion of the season. And he has like a few key things that allow him, they unlock every other part of his game. And one of them is like the burst. And then the other part is just like overwhelming jump shooting and spacing the floor. A lingering back injury messes with both of those things in really significant ways. And so then that limits, if his already kind of like, average by all-star, all-NBA standards scoring gets limited even more by this injury, he becomes like just a lower tier of player. Everything else is lessened. And so I feel like that was the driving part of it.
Definitely. You can mention the back injury. That was what was so confusing because it wasn't really reported that he had a back injury. He didn't miss games. So it seemed like he was fully healthy, just out there looking like a college point guard trying to score. It was terrible, right? But we got some reporting over the months that there's a lingering back issue. There's a report that he was having, like, somebody was theorizing he had issues on the road because like he wasn't in his own bed.
He can't sleep in his bed. That's not fair, you guys.
There was a lot of trying to fucking figure it out between the lines because they weren't reporting it as like, oh, he's dealing with this. I think we've gotten clarity that it was a lingering back issue of sorts. It just wasn't enough to keep him out of games. He fought through it. So that's part of it. But I think he's also, the Tyrese Haliburton scoring game is very much outside in. He's all about hunting threes, that's a reductive way to phrase it. But, he's all about coming off of screens and being a 3-point shooting threat that uses that to attack and stretch the defense out, then bend it by attacking when they have to, really trap on your threes because they don't want you to come off a pick and roll and be able to walk into a 40% pull-up three, right? That makes him just by his nature, a high variance player, because the three-point shot isn't falling. He doesn't have much of an in-between game. He doesn't have the most explosive rim finishing that he's going to be able to have that as a foundation when three isn't falling. He's going to have hot streaks like we saw early last year. He's going to have cold streaks like we saw in the beginning of this year. And I think it was that mixed with the fact that his confidence was just ridiculously bad. He was shot. It looked like he was so timid and just not in a natural rhythm that combined with the cold shooting just like really, really like, what's the word? Snowballed into
There you go.
a disaster class, right? Everything was just out of rhythm. And you felt that entirely because it didn't feel like he was moving the same. Even the playmaking was taking a big hurt. Like he started the year averaging like 7 assists, which is obviously ridiculous for his level of playmaking. And I think it was all rhythm based.
Yeah, and it's difficult because over the course of last season, like this team, the rest of the roster really took a step forward and kind of developed in like the lower play of Haliburton. You saw Siakam, who they traded for midseason, play really, really well. You saw guys like Nembhard, TJ McConnell, Aaron Nesmith, Obi Toppin. It's a team full of talented guys, and I feel like when you're as passive as a player as Haliburton, or just like you're looking to set everybody up, it can kind of muddy the waters a little bit, especially when you don't feel 100%. It could be like, hey, should I be looking to score the ball and be aggressive right now? Or because I'm not feeling so great, should I be looking to like set up my teammates and everything, to the extent where you hurt your team sometimes because you're like, hey, I don't feel great. I'm just going to look to make plays tonight. But when Indiana isn't spearheaded by, the 20 points per game that he's dropping on like what should be 64, 65% true shooting, when they're not led by that threat isn't there, everyone else's job becomes much more difficult.
And I think part of that lack of rhythm to start the year was they also made a clear effort to move him off ball more and be less reliant on his playmaking. His even just this again, it's like a caveman easy way to look at it, but last year and the year before that,
it's two cavemen, chopping it up.
I just bang a stick against my head and I'm like, ooh, stat. But like the last 2 years, he had a 29% usage rate. This year, 25%. It was a little bit lower to start the year too. I think Rick Carlisle made a clear decision to be a more free flowing offense. Naturally they have Siakam now, who they acquired midseason last year. They have a full off season of planning around him now and having this new look offense that they have prep time for. It's not a midseason trade. They had the ascension of Nembhard to start the year. I'm sure they also plan on getting him, Benedict Mathurin, all these other guys a little bit more on-ball touches and being less of a pound-the-rock offense. It was a little more free-flowing, a little bit less Tyrese Haliburton run pick and roll. So you combine that with the lack of jump shot going in, with the lack of confidence. It makes sense why everything was completely thrown off the rhythm to start the year.
Yeah, and you make big changes like that because if I'm Carlisle, you look around at where the season was at last year towards the end, and you're like, hey, we're beat up. Haliburton, relatively fragile guy. I wouldn't necessarily put him into like LaMelo Ball or even Ja Morant space as far as like durability goes. He's been solid, but like you don't want to be like, hey, 82 games, we need maximum output from you the entire time. Because if you do that with Haliburton, odds are you're going to hit April and he won't be right. And it's much better to start the season kind of funky, figuring out how to disperse the offensive load between more players. And then when the playoffs come around, you can be like, hey, 30% usage for Haliburton. Our best players running shit
it's not crazy at all. It wasn't. Listen, Rick Carlisle in the past 5 years has a lot of things to critique him for. I think trying to get Tyrese Haliburton to be more of an off-ball threat and not be so reliant on his playmaking in a heliocentric way is not a bad idea, right? It happened to be met at the start of the year with a nightmare scenario. Nembhard was hurt. Haliburton couldn't shoot. Everything was kind of a nightmare, so it looked bad in the moment, and we were all kind of worried. Yeah. But I said in the moment, because since then, we've seen the resurrection of Tyrese Haliburton as a scorer. Hence the start of this video, hence why we're having this conversation. He no longer looks like somebody we should be worried about. Since December 1st, he's averaging 19 and 9 on 64% true shooting. Ridiculously efficient. 64% is fantastic. That's what you want from a 20 and 10 guy. A lot of point guards these days, we're used to seeing the Luka Doncic's, used to seeing the Trae Youngs who are walking 30 and 10s, that the efficiency is naturally going to be lower because they're just unloading the clip. He's not like that. He's much more like a traditional point guard, much more Chris Paul, much more Steve Nash in that sense that he's going to get you 20 instead of 30, but it's going to be hyper efficient along with being a hyper efficient playmaker. And the most important part of this scoring bounce back is his 2-point shooting, the 3-point shot has come back too. But from 2, he looks a million times better attacking inside the rim.
Yeah. So like the 2-point percentage, I feel like when his 3 comes back, it's great. It's the most important part of his offensive game. But being able to capitalize on guys flying out to the 3-point line is what separates him from just like a traditional nuclear 3-point shooter, even like a Buddy Hield level guy. Because like there's a ton of guys in the NBA who could shoot 40% from 3 on high volume. That's where the game is trended. But the guys who can dribble past their defenders and really dominate in the mid-range and in the paint as well, that's what separates Haliburton as a scorer. And so there are only 3 other guys who are shooting at least 50% in the restricted area, 50% from the paint, like non-restricted area, and then 50% in the mid-range. It's Shea, Nikola Jokic, and Kevin Durant, and then Tyrese Haliburton is the 4th. And so obviously those 3, the volume is higher, but for Haliburton to be mentioned in the same breath as them efficiency-wise, that's a testament to how good he is outside of his 3-point shot.
He picks his spots. It's a much lower. His percentage of shots coming from the rim is extremely low in a way that you'd want it to be higher. But that's just his game. He's not the physical driver. His footwork attacking the paint isn't that good. He's never going to be a guy that's just like consistently generating high volume shots at the rim. He's not Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's the complete opposite in that way, in the way he approaches offense. And that's fine because when he gets there, he's incredibly impactful and incredibly just efficient in his decisions to attack, right? What's interesting about him is everything around these numbers and like how he generates it. Because we mentioned up top, he's such a unique scorer that he's kind of hard for people to parse. He moves such a unique rhythm. Like when you see him move in transition, it feels like I'm watching again, this is scoring and playmaking, so I guess I'm getting ahead of the section, but
that's okay.
It feels like I'm watching a like mature LaMelo Ball or like somebody with a little bit of Magic Johnson DNA in the way they're running in transition, just legs high, looking around, flinging things free flowing, looking around, just like eyes looking at everyone on the court at all times. It feels like he has complete control of the game in transition and just moves in a way that he draws more attention than his scoring numbers would indicate, I think.
Yes. Well, I mean, you always hear the phrase, oh, this guy plays at his own pace. And it's always used to describe guys like fat white guys. Hey, he plays at his own pace, baby. You can never speed him up. And it's like Jokic and Luka are the two big culprits. I would describe Haliburton that way. His pace is just fast. He's an incredible processor with the basketball in his hands. And I think that's a test. Like his scoring, it's just one side of that. But like his ability to get 2 feet into the top of the paint and then make the best possible decision, whether it be shoot the floater that he's incredibly good with or kick out to like literally anybody on the court. He's incredible. And so I feel like he plays at his own pace. His pace is just really quick.
Incredibly fast, right? So again, the scoring is back, and that allows us like the scoring isn't so. We're starting with this because that's the big variance with him. When the scoring is as bad as it was early in the year, it's gonna look ugly. Everything about him is the Jenga tower is gonna fucking collapse if the 3-point shot isn't falling. That is the core of what makes his game work. Outside of that, it gets really tough if he doesn't have that threat because he's never gonna have a super strong downhill velocity threat. So
especially now with the back injury because he's already not super quick, but when he's not right health wise, if you get like Brook Lopez or whoever switched onto him and he can't even beat those guys off the dribble, it's like holy shit, this is tough.
So as of now, he's one of 2 guards averaging 19 points on 64% true shooting. It's just him and Shea. Indiana is the 6th best offense in the league over these last 47 games. The scoring is back. Let's talk about the playmaking because this is all of this we're talking about is basically saying, is his scoring going to be good enough to enable the playmaking or not? And right now, that shit is good enough, and the playmaking is outrageous, like we said.
I mean, he's short list of like the best playmakers in the league. His assist to turnover ratio of 5.61. It ranks first among qualified players in the NBA. The next all-star.
That's a ridiculous number. 5.61. When we look like Cade Cunningham, we're like, can we get him to like 1.5? 5.61 is outrageous.
Yeah. And again, like he is making difficult passes. He's not like throwing it through 4 defenders every time, but even if you just go and watch how much Haliburton goes on a drive and like jumps up in the air to make his pass, a jump pass is an incredibly risky move as far as like your assist to turnover ratio goes, because if you don't like read the floor as fast as Haliburton can and does, it's almost certainly a turnover. Like guys come down and travel with that all the time. And so for Haliburton to just do all the shit that he does and maintain this level of efficiency, historically, like the only comps are like probably Steve Nash and Chris Paul, guys who are like, that's their defining trait, is taking care of the basketball.
100% that way. The style is what intrigues me so much, and why I'm so like been watching a lot of Pacers games, really like enamored with him lately, because he's clicking all cylinders like we're talking about. I'm glad you mentioned Steve Nash and Chris Paul, because I was thinking about this. There's like two groups of passers to me, to like boil it down to like very rudimentary ways to view it. There's the guys who are rhythm-based playmakers and rely on understanding spots. They know if I come off this pick and roll to the right side, I get to my mid-range jumper, I know the defense will come from the corner. I know this read will lead to an open corner three or an open lob every single time. That's, to me, Chris Paul, James Harden are like two of the most expert level guys at knowing their spots and knowing the exact reads off of that. He's not that. He's the opposite. He's much more like the Steve Nash, Magic Johnson, LaMelo Ball type of passer that is all about not knowing the spots, just kind of running around frenetically and paying attention to where everybody's at all times and making the ball go where it needs to go. It's nowhere near as rhythm-based to me. Like I said, in transition, he runs with his head up a lot, and I think that leads to a lack of drives because he's not often looking at the rim. He's not often looking at my guy, can I get to my shot? He's looking at everything and just going where it needs to be. And I don't know if that's better or worse. Maybe you could say there's higher variance and someone like the Chris Paul, Harden like is more reliable playmaking. But it's certainly more frenetic and certainly less easy to guard, I think.
Yeah, it's very difficult to counter. I would almost describe him as a blend of both, because I feel, especially, I went back and I watched the Lakers game where LeBron had the buzzer beater tip in, because that was a really good example of Haliburton affecting pretty much through playmaking. He had 11 points in that game on pretty mid efficiency, but he finished with like 18 assists. And I thought it was a really good example of, there's a lot of those moments where he drives and he stops at like the elbow or in the short mid range, and he looks around and he finds where the defense has made a mistake and he makes him pay. Whether it's like Obi Toppin slipping to the rim, or you left like Benedict Mathurin open from three or something because the guy helped over. But at the same time, I feel like there are plenty of examples where Haliburton, he's just very aware of like, maybe there's 15 seconds left in the shot clock. Maybe this isn't traditionally where we would have to get a shot. Maybe a better shot than this will show up. But like I see my guy, whether it's Obi Toppin or Aaron Nesmith or whoever, I see them in a spot where I know they're comfortable. I'm going to get the ball to them, and I know that something good is going to happen as a result.
Yes, I'm glad you said that. Like, so one, I say he's not as rhythm-based. Actually, no, not rhythm's the wrong word. Not as pattern-based of a playmaker, I think, and just general score mover. He's much more free-flowing, read things as they come. But he's also weirdly open to not getting the assist on a play. He's all about, to me, some guys like, okay, Luka Doncic, when he comes off a pick and roll, he's all about getting the deepest penetration possible and drawing as many help defenders, because he knows that no matter how deep he is, how many bodies are around him, he has the ridiculous passing accuracy, height combination, IQ combination to find the open man and like kick it out behind his head to the open Dorian Finney-Smith on top of the arc, hit it to the lob last second, like do that and really make sure we get the assist. He'll come off a pick and roll, and if you show help for a second, wherever you help from on the court, he's immediately sending the ball to where the help is coming from. Immediately fill in the space. So you make the mistake of shading one way, the ball goes there immediately. It's the fastest decisions that are all about like generating hockey assist. If it's not going to be an assist, keeping the ball moving, because he knows if he sends it to the corner, even if he knows rotation's coming to cover that man, he'll attack the closeout and we'll get offense moving. It's really a remarkable style of playmaking and just filling space as soon as help defense comes.
Yeah, and I don't know. Sometimes these conversations end up where like, the guys, you and me, glazing Haliburton and the playmaking and everything. We end up, it'll be like, well, he's responsible for the whole team being willing to move the ball or whatever. And like, that's not necessarily the case, but the way he plays, absolutely emboldens everybody else on the floor to be willing to move the basketball. It's so much easier for a player to like touch the ball. You know, you run for 4 minutes as a role player and you touch the ball like 10 times because it's just flying around the court. That I feel like it does embolden a certain play style that Indiana has really leaned into. And even though he's not responsible for there being a bunch of good supplementary playmakers on this team, like Nembhard and like Siakam and everybody, he's definitely like leading by example in terms of like willingness to just get the ball out of his hands immediately.
Leading by example is a good way to put it, because, you know, people always say that like your star sets the tone, right? They like the leader of the locker room sets the vibe essentially of how we're all going to play, and people come around to that. At times, people have criticized the more like ball pounding point guards, like a Trae Young, like a Luka, for making their guys stand in the corner and not touch the ball, right? People pretend that like they understand these players' psyches, and that surely PJ Tucker hates watching Harden dribble, right? That can't be good for his morale. You don't got to worry about that side of it. the like vibe, leadership, relationship side of it is certainly real. But I think some people hear that and they scoff at that. Like, what does that even mean? I think it's also like that correlates to basketball reasons too. If I'm passing you the ball every time and you can trust that you're going to be in a good position to succeed, like if I'm throwing you to the corner as soon as you get open, you can tack a closeout, you're going to have a better opportunity to make a pass because you're attacking from a point of advantage. You're attacking against a rotating defense. That'll make you look like a better passer, Obi Toppin, because you're not just isolating. You're cutting at the exact right time and attacking a 4-on-3 defense. Like, you're going to get in a better passing groove because I'm giving you opportunities to do that.
Yeah, and especially like when you go back and watch those guys, everybody catching the ball in spots where they're comfortable. It doesn't just end up in catch and shoot threes or whatever. You're getting plays where guys are like taking guys off the dribble, pounding it 3 or 4 times, and then they get, you know, a little dump off pass underneath the basket or a kick out or whatever. It does. Yeah, I don't know. It's trickle down passing, baby. It's what it is. Ronald Reagan should have been a coach. Oh my God, this is incredible.
Honestly, that is the best way to describe it. Like, I pass the ball in a way that'll put my teammates in a position to pass the ball. That's literally his entire style of play. It's I pass it from a point of advantage, you get a point of advantage. Whereas some guys pass it and like as a bailout, now it's like, okay, go isolate and make some shit happen with 4 seconds left on the shot clock.
Yes, yeah. And it's like it all comes together. It's almost difficult to talk about the scoring and the passing isolated from one another because they go in hand. But like when you talk about Luka kicking the ball out to the corner, and you talk about that as like the recipe for a good possession from him a lot of time, that like defined his time in Dallas, was either like a kick out or a lob. From that perspective, the defense scrambling back knows exactly what to do on pretty much every possession. Like the guy who helped down, even though Luka collapsed the paint, the guy who helped down, he now knows I'm sprinting to the corner. And whether or not I can really contest the guy, I know that's my job. Whereas with the shit that's happening in Indiana, the guy who's scrambling is like, I don't know where I'm going. I need to look around and figure it out on the fly.
Exactly. Yeah. So like Indiana doesn't have the talent of some teams, but the style of play they like employ just makes them so much less predictable that, you know, we hear a lot about modern NBA offenses all playing the same. We hear players talk about they guard the same actions every night that, like you just mentioned, it gets formulaic and you kind of know your job, and sometimes the talent benefits kind of get nullified a little bit because the defense understands what you're trying to do so well. The frenetic style of play here just kind of gives them a little advantage that I think they get a little bit more out of their talent because it's so much, especially in a regular season sense, when you're not game planning for the team 7 times in a row. It's just so much less predictable that on a random Tuesday night when you're playing your 4th game of the past 2 weeks, it's just like you got to be really mentally sharp to finish games against the offense.
That's mentally sharp is a good way to put it, where it's like, I don't know, if you ever watch your team towards the end of the road trip trying to play the Pacers, it's so frustrating just because it's and Haliburton is like another lead by example here. Everybody is just like cheesing the defense making mistakes. If you slip up for a second and my guy has a back cut for a layup, he is getting the basketball. And to be a team that's like, oh, we've been on the East Coast for 2.5 weeks. We've been city to city to city nonstop, it feels like. Now we have to play the Pacers. To be on your P's and Q's in the middle of February or whatever, it's pretty tough.
Yeah. Okay, so he's obviously a very unique player that emboldens a very unique style of play. Let's talk about him compared to some other point guards. Okay. I'm going to name a variety of other NBA point guards that I think are peers to Tyrese Haliburton. You let me know who you'd rather have. And we'll do 5 levels of this, progressively difficult. We'll see if he can get to level 5 and win.
Okay.
Level 1, Tyrese Haliburton or Tyrese Maxey?
Oh, I like Maxey. I will take Haliburton here.
I like Maxey a lot. I like Maxey a lot more. Oops, I just said the same name twice. I like Haliburton a lot more. He's so stupid.
You guys can bully him down below.
Fuck, I spoiled the bar. Ruined it.
My God, that's funny.
Yeah, I'm going Haliburton pretty easily, though.
Yeah. That was crazy. In the beginning of the slow start, that was the narrative. Was this Tyrese is better than that Tyrese. I forgot about that.
Yeah, it is, and very opposite styles of players. So one I think has a higher floor and is a better supplementary player. One has more responsibility, and if it's not going well, that responsibility is going to look horrible. But at their peak, I definitely want Haliburton. Mm-hmm. Level 2, LaMelo Ball. I feel like Tyrese Haliburton is basically LaMelo Ball who takes his medicine, who has his Adderall prescription and stays on it and is tame and controlled. They're very similar to me.
Yeah. Damn. I will go Haliburton here. That's a real testament to how crazy LaMelo can get at times, that you're like, Haliburton's tame. He's the normalized version of this. Because, like, yeah, that's
He's the most frenetic game ever, but I'm like, he's the calm one.
Yeah. I'll go Haliburton, though, for sure.
Yeah, just... and listen, LaMelo Ball can average 30 for a stretch. That brings you a lot of... The highs are crazy high. I feel much safer building around Tyrese Haliburton.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Level 3, Ja Morant. This is a real testament to how you feel about Ja right now.
I don't feel great. I'll go Haliburton. I don't.
This is close. This is very close.
Yeah. I'm not buying into like the Ja right now. I don't think it's representative of Ja Morant as a player. The same way Haliburton, first 20 games this year, I didn't think that was representative of him.
Don't judge anybody at their lowest. I think when they're both at their peak, I'm going to rank them like right next to each other. This is like point guard 5 and 6 in the league. I think they're very close. But yeah, Haliburton is a much safer, higher floor. I feel good about Haliburton fitting next to other stars too. That I have a little bit of questions about Ja Morant playing off ball. So I'll go Haliburton.
Yeah, I mean, shit. I don't even know what's going on in Memphis right now, dude. It's been a crazy couple of weeks for them. I'll go Haliburton.
Hey, let's get Ja to another city, man.
Yeah, used to say.
Level 4, Cade Cunningham.
Oh, brother. I will still go Haliburton here.
Really?
This is tough. I love Tyrese Haliburton. Real Tyrese Haliburton. I was there day one when the hot streak started. Yeah. I was like, yo, this is better than Trae Young. This is Steve Nash, baby. And so, yeah, I feel better about Haliburton.
I feel better about Haliburton in a lot of situations, but I feel much better about Cade as my one option in a playoff setting. I think he's a little more resilient of a scoring bag that, like the situation he's in right now and the Pistons trying to win a first round playoff series, I feel way better about Cade in that situation.
That's fair. I don't know. Part of it, the playoffs might go the same way again, but even him hurt in the playoffs last year or him weird, every time Haliburton took like 15 shots, the Pacers had the best game of all time. They would score like 130 points and he would have like 25, 26 on really solid efficiency with good playmaking. So yeah, I will go Haliburton here. Cade, I would say the majority probably go Cade.
Yeah, it's Cade. And listen, split decision, level 5 is Steph Curry. Steph Curry wins.
Tyrese, just kidding, everybody. Yeah, I'll go Steph.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Well, if Tyrese Haliburton had Jimmy Butler, it was like totally. If Tyrese Haliburton had Draymond Green, dude, he could run off so many screens. It'd be crazy.
Okay. So yeah, I think he loses level 4. Obviously, he loses at level 5. Cade versus Tyrese Haliburton is a fun debate. Very stylistically different.
Yeah, it's the most different kind of point guards in the world. Even Ja.
Okay, no, we mentioned in that. That I feel better about Cade in the playoff setting because I think his on-ball scoring bag in a playoff setting and his ability to like get to his own shot in a set defense, I feel a little bit better about. Mm-hmm. He's also an elite playmaker, So that kind of brings us to the point that I'm kind of saying I don't feel great about that element of Tyrese Haliburton's game in a playoff setting.
Okay.
So how do we feel about Tyrese Haliburton, and more specifically, how do we feel about the Pacers' playoff outlook this year?
I really don't hate
Because right
the
now,
Pacers'
they're the
playoff
4 seed.
outlook.
They actually would be facing Detroit if the playoffs started today.
Shit.
So that's we might see a 1v1.
Oh God, I forgot
Like-
about that. Hey, if this ages poorly, shut the fuck up, everybody. Okay, I'm trying my best.
Don't tell me I had a bad take. I don't want to hear it. All I do is yap.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was probably Matthew's fault.
I'll take
anyway.
zero accountability.
Okay. Oh, God, if fucking Haliburton had beef stew, it'd be different. No. Yeah. So I think the Cade scoring part of it, I would say inarguably better suited for the playoffs, just in terms of like, hey, get to the mid range. He's lived off a diet of pretty difficult shots this entire year, and he's been relatively efficient at them. I really do feel like Haliburton's bag, it's not like built to get fucked up in the playoffs, just because like there's not that much you can alter as a defense schematically to take away a guy who can shoot 40% from 3 on high volume. Like, oh, we're going over the screens now. Okay. Like I don't think there's a ton that you can employ to fix that problem, especially when the rest of the team is so ready to like completely attack any defensive weakness. Yeah, I don't know. I get being apprehensive of the scoring bag, and maybe it'll happen. Maybe I'm insane, but I feel pretty solid about it, all things considered.
Yeah, I think the Pacers. I think if they play Detroit specifically, I don't know which way that one's going to go, but I think they have a pretty good chance against most of the teams in the conference. I don't expect them to beat the Celtics and Cavs here. And I'm not going to take it that far. Those are the best teams in the East by a wide margin. But if you told me like the third best team in the conference, and you told me you think they're better than the Knicks right now, we'll see what Brunson looks like coming off an injury. That's going to be a big question mark. I think before I would have said I'm surely taking the Knicks, but we'll see if he's the type of guy that can just wake up, dust his leg off, jump into the playoffs, and be 100%. Who knows? Mm-hmm. That's kind of a lot to ask. If that's not going to be the case, shout out the Bucks. Lillard's not going to be there potentially. If that's not going to be the case, and it's really Detroit versus Pacers for the third best team in the East, I don't think it's crazy to put the Pacers 3 at all.
No, I don't think so. And I think another part of this is like Haliburton specifically. If you're not like Celtics or Cavs level switchable, I really love. He is incredible at attacking mismatches. If you have like a lumbering big, like a Jalen Duren type of big man or something out there, I think he's really good at going at those levels of guys. Or on the other hand, like guards that aren't good defensively. He's more than capable of cooking people in isolation. It just doesn't happen that much. And so, yeah, I wouldn't pick him to beat the Celtics or the Cavs, but I think if you're the Knicks, you absolutely have your hands full with the series. Like, there's no margin for any sort of injury. You would need Brunson and Deuce McBride to come back 100% immediately.
Yeah, you would need to be full strength because, you don't. No margin for error is a good way to put it. Against the Pacers in general, you don't have any margin for error. It's very much like like I said earlier, you have to be very sharp, very ready to deal with just stress. They're going to stress you out.
And when to win a title, you need to be able to do that anyway. So if you're the Celtics or the Cavs, you've been like, hey, we need to be on our P's and Q's no matter what. We're trying to beat the Thunder. So if we're not really that worried about beating the Pacers because the goal has already been higher than that. But for the rest of the teams in the conference, especially if you're the Knicks in the first year of this experiment, just trying to see what you can get out of this core that you've gone all in for, or you're the Pistons getting your first moment of postseason experience. I think it is a good test for those teams because if you get nuked by the Pacers, you could probably tell you're a little ways away.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking of, let's keep talking about Tyrese versus his peers in a way.
Okay.
Let's redraft the 2020 NBA draft class. Okay. See where he goes, because this is not a super deep draft class. So he could go. He's going to go very high. I'm very curious. Yes. Do you want to have first pick or do you want to have second pick?
I'll defer. I'll go second pick.
Okay. So again, we're going to do the top 8 of the 2020 draft. Do a redraft for how we're feeling about them this many years later. Surprise, surprise. I'm going Anthony Edwards as the first pick. That one, no explanation needed.
Yeah, no. Top 10 player available, probably take that guy. Top 15, whatever you want to say.
Probably a good idea.
Guy overthinking it. Give me Haliburton. No, at 2, I will take Tyrese Haliburton. Yeah, I mean, like you said, not really that much to say. There's a couple guys
You
here
didn't hesitate at
who have
all with
been
the other 2 point guards?
No, I mean, I already did it. Like, I think Haliburton, the ceiling is the best of those 3 guys, and I also think he's the best right now.
Yeah. You definitely feel the safest with him running your team.
Especially with how Philadelphia's gone. I know Maxey, in the games Maxey's played, they've been a bit more competitive than the record has looked. But yeah, I'll go Haliburton.
No, and speaking of, number 3, I'm going to go Tyrese Maxey. I just trust him a lot more than LaMelo. And I know Maxey needs to be my second option, and maybe LaMelo can be your first one day. Give me the elite second option over the question mark first.
Yeah. Hey, I will go LaMelo. Last All-Star available, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'll go Melo here. This is where you dip off into, hey, we don't know territory. I don't know if I'm going to get 65 games out of him next year or anything. Probably not. But when you do, and when you surround him with talent, which we haven't seen in Charlotte, I think he's an incredible player. Like he could be as good as Maxey, no question to me.
Oh yeah, certainly. Again, we could look real silly putting LaMelo at 4 in a couple of years, but right now, I'd feel sillier putting him higher right now.
Okay. Who you got next?
Number 5, I'll go Denny. He's probably the best role player on this list.
Ooh, okay.
I mean, low-key, the past 2 months, he's not even playing like a role player. He's fucking playing like a star at this rate, so I think it's fine.
That's fine. I'll go Desmond Bane here. Before this season, he would have been my pick for the best role player on this list. I felt like a couple years ago, he was a fringe all-star level guy. Kind of defense and 3-point shooting combination that's incredibly rare. It was like
his defense has not been good this year. That's the biggest difference. His defense has been ass this year for his standards.
Why are you worried about it, dude? Oh my God.
He gets buckets. Nerd.
Hey, whatever, dude. Who you got next?
But Bane at 6 is cool. I debated between Bane and this guy. I'll go Jaden McDaniels at 7.
Yeah. That was my question as well.
Now that he knows how to score again, and he has a mid-range bucket, and he's not strictly defense, I low-key might put him above Bane. I think it's a question.
I feel this way. This is how I felt about Haliburton, where I was like, am I insane? Are we ever going to see this player again? There's good Desmond Bane out there, people. He's real. I've seen him. This isn't canon right now.
No, I love Desmond Bane. So yeah, honestly, it's more about Jaden McDaniels being so valuable now that he's back to where he is offensively. As long as Jaden McDaniels can make a jump shot and can dribble a little bit, his defense gives him so much value. He'll fit on any good team ever for the rest of his career.
Okay. At 8, I will go Peyton Pritchard. This is where you could take whatever swing you want here. There's a bunch of different arguments.
You stuck with the home team, okay?
Hey, you give Peyton Pritchard a high usage percentage. Lightning strike, Lou Williams. We can call him that. I don't know if we're looking at an all-star or anything, but he's funky. He's fun.
Okay, listen, you gotta represent. I understand. I was thinking maybe Aaron Nesmith, but I cannot argue with the Peyton love.
That's what I'm saying. Shout out to Peyton Pritchard. Sorry, I don't like the Celtics. It's fucked up that they have him, but whatever.
I do hope we see Peyton Pritchard on a high usage role one day. I don't care if it's a bad team. I don't care if it's a good team. I want to see him play 36 minutes a night at least once in his career.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Expansion draft, don't protect him, Boston. Let a dog shit team get him for a couple
running
years.
An expansion team, just getting buckets, that'd be amazing.
Ooh, that'd be so cool. The Peyton Pritchard, Isaiah Joe backcourt that wins 12 games.
Isaiah Thomas, welcome back to the NBA.
Hell yeah.
Amazing.
Give me a call. I'm ready. It's like, no.
I meant Peyton Pritchard would be Isaiah Thomas, not that.
Oh, okay. No, I thought you literally, he's ready. He's ready to go in the expansion.
I understand why I went that way.
That's tough.
Last thing we'll do before we get out of here. I feel like one of the things we haven't talked about in all of this, one of the most important things that we're quietly overlooking, the equity in Tyrese Haliburton's celebration game, whether or not it's good. His patented skipping celebration. Let's discuss that. I'm going to name you some NBA celebrations. I want you to tell me if they're cool or cringe.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well,
we'll start off
insane. All right. Go.
Tyrese Haliburton skipping.
It's slightly cringe. Slightly cringe.
Slightly, okay.
I don't hate. It's not the worst thing in the world. But for a guy, I mean, truly the reincarnation of Reggie Miller, just like a goofy basketball player. It's very on brand. It fits with everything else.
I like it because it pisses everybody off. People will just like their panties get so in a bunch they can't handle him celebrating. He's like, "Oh, you're such a front runner. You don't do that when you're down." Why would he be skipping when he's losing? Why would anybody be skipping when they lose?
Why would anybody? It's not fun to lose, guys. I don't know if you knew that.
For some reason, this annoys people so much that they act like it's immoral to celebrate. So for that, I'm gonna go cool because I love how much he makes people mad.
Okay.
But I understand if you think it's cringe. It's not the best celebration. I just like I like the effects of it more than I do the celebration.
All right.
You said I don't have anything nice to say, so I won't say.
I'm just trying to be nice. I like Haliburton as a player, but so I've seen better celebrations. Okay. That's all I'll say.
I understand. I understand what you're putting down. We got Steph Curry night.
Cringe. It's cringe.
People love this one. Steph Curry fans are going to slaughter
people,
you.
Probably. I don't know. Maybe it's. I swear to God, it literally debuted like 2 months before they beat the Nuggets in the playoffs. I'm pretty sure.
You have PTSD with it. Okay, that's why you're a little biased.
I guess maybe that's what it is. I don't know. But especially
I didn't like it at first. It's grown on me massively. I like it a lot now.
Draymond did it a couple weeks ago. So, is it still cool if Draymond does it? To me,
listen, we'll ignore it this time. A couple more times, he's gonna ruin it. For now, we'll ignore that and we'll say it's still cool.
The most fucked up version. He was like hunched over sprinting. It was terrible.
We'll ignore it. We'll give him cool. Draymond, you better calm the fuck down. We got Jalen Brunson's 3-point celebration.
It's cool. Because Jalen Brunson's cool. He could do whatever, and it would be cool. If he skipped, it would probably be cool, you know? Like, it's just Jalen Brunson.
Have you ever thought about the fact that it is 1 in the pink, 2 in the stink?
Sure, I guess. See, I respect women, so I would never think about things through that lens.
I would never take it there.
Hey, whatever. I mean, it's whatever. Thought this was a family show, but I guess Isaac.
Who told you that?
Demented, depraved, sick fuck, Isaac. Just can't keep his mind straight.
So I don't. No, you know what? I'll say it's cool. I like that it's a unique way to put up 3 fingers. I like that he did his own thing. It's not this. It's not this. It's some weird fucked up version that nobody else has ever done. I like it.
We gotta start getting 2 hands in there. You could be like
if you hit 3 and you're like, well, I can't count.
That's so
you're like, hey, that would be the dorkiest shit I've ever seen.
Mike Breen, bang, and you're just in the camera. Nice. That would be for 4. That would be crazy. The Richard Nixon, the 2. Like if you got an and 1 on a 3, that would be sick.
The Richard Nixon. God. Okay. Last one. We got LeBron crowning himself.
Cool. It's cool. I mean, what do you think? It's literally LeBron James. He's the king putting a crown on his head.
I mean, you know what side I'm on. I like it a lot. But I can imagine if I'm putting myself in the shoes of someone who's not a LeBron James fan, who already is inclined to dislike him, they must think this is the worst thing in the world. They must think this is the most pretentious bullshit ever. And that makes me like it more. Because those people that think that fundamentally stand against what I stand for.
I would be curious which they hate more, the crown or the silencer, because the silencer is such like a drawn out process. It's like a full 15-second celebration. Whereas the king, at least you rip the Band-Aid off, but it is a little bit more direct in terms of I'm the fucking best, dude.
So, you know what they say there? No king has to say he's the king. Nobody has to put the crown on themselves. How about you shut the fuck up? How about that? How about it's cool?
Shut the fuck up. God, bro.
How about I like it?
Maybe the king, whatever. Shut up, dude. Jeez.
And that's the end of what we got today. Oh, no, one more. We got Malik Beasley's shimmy.
How could we forget? How could we forget Malik Beasley's shimmy? I will give Malik Beasley's shimmy I'll give it a cool, just because I think it's funny when a role player does too much. Objectively, you're doing too much. But it's fun.
You said it many times. I'm sure you'll say it again. You are a fan of gyration. This is up your alley.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And I'm not talking like usually I talk about that through an astronomical lens. I do a lot of like star chart mapping and stuff, and you need a gyroscope for that. But yeah, this I mean, in a nod to that, I guess this is cool too. Men gyrating. I've heard you talk about that a ton, and so it's like, hey.
I mean, I'm just trying to be like you, big bro. So I'm learning from the best.
No. I mean, it's okay. You don't have to be so modest. Isaac wrote a book on men gyrating under a pen name. Everybody, it's crazy. Go to Barnes and Noble.
I just I've done some work in the field. Yeah, sure. I've laid my mark on the field. I've left history behind me, but I had to pay homage to who I've learned it from. And you are the trailblazer that really inspired me. So I'm not going to take all the credit when we have to really pay attention to the OGs that made this possible for us.
In the foreword of his book, he does thank me. I'll say that much. So it's fair. Guys, if you're still here, comment,
shout out men gyrating.
Shout out men gyrating, baby. Hell yeah.
And we'll see y'all for next time.
Adios.